So the best sales tool that you have costs nothing. It's actually silence. And most salespeople are terrified.
Welcome to the Master Dealmaker's Secrets podcast. And now, here's sales growth strategist, John Blake.
Welcome to Master Dealmaker's Secrets. I'm John Blake. This is episode 251. And today we're going to talk about why silence wins more sales than talking. So the best sales tool that you have costs nothing. It's actually silence. And most salespeople are terrified of. So picture this. You ask a prospect a question. They start to answer and then they pause. What do you do? Well, if you're like most salespeople, they'll jump in. They'll rephrase the question and they will offer suggestions. They'll fill the void with more talking. And that is actually a mistake. Here's what is actually happening in that pause. So the prospect is actually thinking, they're processing. They are about to tell you something. And when you jump in, you cut that thought off. You cut off the flow of information. As a salesperson, you've got to get really comfortable with silence and with longer than what would otherwise be considered normal pauses or periods of silence. So you signal that this is a conversation where you talk and they respond. And in a situation where you're talking more than the person that you have on the other end of the phone, you are losing. So sales training teaches techniques, objection handling, closing scripts, rapport building. It's all focused around talking. But really, and all of that really requires that you actually talk more. But talking is actually how you often lose control of a conversation. So silence is a tool and you can use it deliberately. So to start off with, ask your question, then stop. The other mistake that I often see salespeople making is that they'll ask a question and then they will answer for the person, and they will answer for the person with the response that they want the person to give. And again, that's a big mistake. In fact, I heard the other day on another podcast that if they say it, it's true. Anything that comes out of your mouth is a lie. So it's a good way to remember to make sure that you prioritize them talking. And obviously you want them talking about the right things, but you want to ask questions that elicit those right things. So ask your question, then stop. Don't rephrase, don't clarify, don't add examples. Just wait. The prospect will fill the silence, and what they say in that moment is usually a lot more honest than their prepared answer, or certainly yours. So pause after their answer. They finish their answer. Most salespeople immediately respond or ask the next question. What is a really good thing to do is to actually pause for 3 beats. And this might actually sound, well, it is counterintuitive, but it's actually more difficult than what it sounds. So, it's like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Now, if they've actually told you something that's useful, like, the problem that they're facing or whatever, ask them to tell you more. Just say, look, can you tell me more about that? Or that sounds important. Can you tell me more about that? Because their first answer is rarely the guts of the matter. It is often surface level. So often if you hear me coaching somebody about their sales call, you might hear me say that they spent too much time in the shallow end of the pool. And it's not really until we dig deeper into responses that we get that we actually really start to get anywhere on an actual sales call. So the pause signals that you're actually listening and that you want to understand at a deeper level. So the next step is to use strategic silence before you actually make your recommendation. So You've done your discovery, ideally no less than 15 to 20 minutes. They're expecting you to pitch your product. At that point, don't let them sit with everything that they've just told you, their motivation, their situation, and then ask them, just say, so what are you thinking? Half the time they'll actually start to sell themselves. They'll say something like, oh, so does your program work? Or, what would you recommend? So you, at that point, are being invited to make a recommendation rather than just jumping straight in. So now they're actually pulling information from you instead of actually you pushing it on them, which is pretty cool. So from there, if they start to give you pushback or objections, just pause. Like if they give you an objection, just pause for 3 to 5 seconds. Don't defend, don't explain, don't offer a discount. Just wait. They'll probably follow up with, so for example, someone says, oh, that's more than what I was preparing to invest. Now, if you pause for 3 to 5 seconds, they'll probably go, but, I actually do see the value, or, let me have a look and see what I can do, or, something to that effect. So in that regard, the objection wasn't really real. It was probably just a reflex. So silence actually lets them, allows them to work through it themselves. So strategic silence is uncomfortable to start off with. Every instinct tells you to fill the void, especially if you're on the phone, and keep the conversation going. But that's just your ego in most cases. So if you want training on disciplined discovery, including how to silence strategically, how to use silence strategically, the mentor info page on my website it's actually the sales team audit on my website is the place to go. And that is a great resource for people who are selling complex services, trades, construction, software as a service, wellness, all sorts of different people that that I have helped to build this particular structure for, so that they can cut through these discovery conversations, because they are so important. They are really the backbone that underpins where somebody is coming from in terms of their motivation. And what it allows you to do is to avoid making what we call a blind offer. And a blind offer is an offer where you haven't properly qualified someone yet, where they haven't acknowledged a problem, where they haven't acknowledged that their motivation to solve the problem, where they haven't articulated that they understand that you can help them with that problem, and where they haven't articulated that they're prepared to actually invest the time, the energy, and the money in actually solving that problem. So when you start using strategic silence deliberately, what you'll find is that the people that you're talking to will actually tell you things that they haven't previously told other salespeople. So you'll actually hear them say things like, actually, that's a really good question. I've never really thought about that before. That's when you know that you are making progress. That's where you know that you are asking questions that your competitors aren't asking, because you actually listened and waited for them to respond rather than jump straight in. What you'll find is that your objections will be less likely, because you will have covered more ground and the person will have felt more heard. So they're not going to be quite as skeptical, and that naturally you will actually start to convert more business, because people that feel like you heard them, feel like they were able, they'll say things like, oh, I think I got, I think he really gets me. I think he knows he listened to me. He gets the brief. He understands where I'm coming from. Those are the type of things that they will be thinking, that they will tell the other people that are involved in the decision-making process as well. And so your close rates will improve. So next sales call, try this experiment. After you ask a question, count 4 beats before saying anything else. When they finish answering, especially if they've given you like an answer that relates to a problem or motivation behind the purchase, say, oh, can you tell me, that sounds important. Can you tell me more about that? And before you actually make your recommendation, ask them, so what are you thinking at this point? Or one of the things that you could say is, oh, so what's been most valuable so far? you'll be amazed at how people will respond differently when you stop filling every single silence. So the best salespeople don't talk more, they listen better. So thank you so much again, as always, for listening in, and I will look forward to talking to you on the next podcast. Cheers.
You've been listening to Master Dealmaker Secrets with John Blake. Subscribe to get more in-depth strategies and maximize your sales process with new episodes every other week. And double your inquiry to sale conversion with the lead flow you already have. Go to johnblakeaudio.com for his exclusive, free, no-fluff audio training and companion PDF guide.